Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 2 of our functional testing series. In the previous video, we learned what is functional testing and why we need to do functional testing for a software and application. In this video, we will learn about the starting point of doing functional testing of an API. That is API documentation. So in this video, we will learn what is API documentation and why we need that. Next, what are different API documentation tools? And we will demonstrate how we can use these tools. So let's get started. So the very first question is, what is API documentation? So as a tester, you always require some kind of a document or a manual whenever you need to start the testing for a software to know what that software is doing, what is the main functionality of the software, what kind of different errors you might get while doing the error scenarios. So all these you get in a document. Similar way, whenever you are testing an API, it is documented somewhere. That is API documentation. So API documentation is a kind of document where you will find the details about different endpoints in that API, like get, put, post, different kind of request methods used, what kind of request you need to form, the different headers and the parameters you need to pass, and what kind of different authentication methods you need to use, and what is the response you are expected for that endpoint. All the information you will get from the API documentation. So it acts as a guide basically for the developers, testers, and whosoever is working on that API. So it's a kind of one place where everybody involved in that API can come and get the information. So it helps you to avoid different kinds of errors, and it makes the process very efficient and clean so that there will be no confusion in the functionality of an API. So this is the API documentation, and it is very, very helpful whenever you are testing or developing any API. So next comes, what are the tools used for this API documentation? So one of the most commonly used tool for API documentation is Swagger. Most of the REST APIs these days use this tool for the API documentation. It is open source, and with few configuration you can configure this into your application. I'll show you the code as well, what kind of code you will be needing to make this API documentation to use the Swagger inside your application, and it will be ready to use. So it has very interactive interface. So it has a UI. We will see in a later part. It has a UI, and on the UI it will provide all the information about the endpoints, the HTTP methods, request, response, and you can get the whole detail of your API. So this Swagger is very, very useful these days. So it is used in almost all the applications now. So you just need to go to the developer and ask them for a YAML file, or just ask them the link for the Swagger to get the details of the API. So you just need to do this much only, no need to do anything else. So this Swagger can be done through the YAML files or through directly through a UI link. So there are various features of a Swagger. For example, it is very interactive. It has interactive UI. It provides the details about all the endpoints, different error scenarios, the 200 scenarios, and there is a visibility, clear visibility, and everyone across the teams, either the developers, BSAs, or the testers, they can come and see what is the documentation of an API. So it's really, really easy, and one tool for everything you need to know about an API. So as you already know that we have developed a products API using Spring Boot. So I'll show you, I have already configured Swagger in that API. So I'll show you, walk you through the Swagger documentation of products API. So this is the link. So what I have to do is I just need to go to that link, and you can see here that there is a full-fledged documentation of all my endpoints. Isn't it easy and really interactive? So here I'm directly see that it's a product management. So my API is managing the product, and it has all the different endpoints, and you can see it here that this endpoint is used for getting the product, this is updating the product, this is adding a new product, getting all the products, and deleting the product by ID. So this functionality is there. So all I need to do is just click here, and I will find the whole information. So whenever you are starting anything, right, so what you can do is you can see, you can copy this much detail, like this is your endpoint, and here there is no domain as of now because it's hosted on localhost. So the domain is this one. So you can always get the domain from here, get the domain, and this is your endpoint. Paste that endpoint in the postman and make that request using this. So here we can see that it is a get method. Select the get method, your endpoint will be ready for test. And you can see it here, the parameters. In the parameters you can see it here, it's a path param. So we already know that path param is the one which is in the URL path. So here ID, and you can see it's required. So required means it's mandatory, you need to provide it always. So you can also make your test case according to these also. If what if you are not providing these required IDs, so what is the expectation, what are the different errors you are getting in those cases? Are those valid errors? If not, you are getting those errors, then it could be a bug in the application. So here also the headers, we have two mandatory headers that you need to pass. So let me show you in the postman as well how you can pass these things. So you can see it, these are the headers, and you can pass the headers as the mandatory headers here. Now next comes, so this was about the request. Now you can also find the response here. If you see the what kind of response is expected, so while testing you need to validate the responses also, right? So you can always come to the Swagger and see what kind of response is expected. For example, if you are adding a laptop, the HP laptop, then you are getting back the results of HP laptop only instead of something else, right? So that is the one you need to add on here. Like you can validate your responses. So I was showing you here. So it was get, which one it was get product by ID. So we already have that here, right? So you can see it, you can just get the endpoints name from here, and ID is the one, and in the headers column you can pass the mandatory headers. You can always copy from here, and you can pass the values. You can find the values as well here, so you can copy the values also. You will find the dummy values and you can always change them. So you can come here, add your values, and you can always validate your response, like what are you getting the same response? If not, then it could be a bug. So that is all about the get one. So let me walk you through the post request as well. So if you go to post request, the similar thing, you will get the endpoint name, the method name, and the headers information. And the another thing is the request body. So here it is also required, and you can always copy the request body from here and use it in your postman. So you don't need to do anything, so everything is here. You just need to modify your information and you are good to go. So it's very easy and very efficient way to start your API testing. And similarly, you can see the 200 OK response here, and you can also see I haven't configured the error scenarios, that is why I'm not getting the 400 or other kind of error scenarios here. So in a real time you will find the details about the error scenarios as well. So similarly, I have details about all the other endpoints as well, like delete, get, what kind of information I need to pass. Everything is here. And one more thing I want to show is the schema. So we know that we have used different this products detail, right? So in products detail, what kind of object it is, so you will find like IDs and integer. You can find the data types of all the attributes which are coming here, right? So you can find it the information in the schema part as well. You can validate the schema also. That things we will do it in our testing series and moving forward. So yeah, that this is the schema. You can find it in the Swagger. So that is the information. One more thing I want to show you is the Swagger editor. So what is Swagger editor basically? So what happens in real time scenarios is sometimes you get the YAML files. So there is a format of files, the YAML file. So you can always search what kind of YAML file. It's a human readable data serialization language. This kind of file it is. So sometimes your developer provides you the YAML file for the Swagger. Then what you can do is you can always copy that YAML file here. So this is basically a YAML only. Copy that here. What will happen? The Swagger editor will convert your YAML into this UI interactive readable form. So you will see all your details about the endpoints of your particular API in this format. So that is the other way to see the Swagger information. So here also you can see the information about the endpoints. One more thing I want to discuss is this log thing. So this log is the what kind of authentication you have used for that particular endpoint. If I click there, I can see that it is using auth2. If you're not clear about what is authentication methods, you can always go and to my API testing series. You can watch there. I have covered all the different authentication methods there. So this is auth2 authentication method, and here you can see that there are different scopes being used, and this is the this particular endpoint is cannot be accessed without the authentication. So this log suggests that. And similarly, it has a put endpoint, and there is the endpoint, this is the method, and this is the request body I need to pass to test it, and this is the response expected. You can see here they have given 400, 404, 422 default. So these kind of responses you can also get. So on one page, one document, you are getting all the information about the API. Everything related to that API is here only. So that is this Swagger. So this is very interactive and very easy, and this is your first and starting point to start testing your API. So instead of going anywhere, always ask the developer to give the link of the Swagger documentation. They will provide you and you can start your testing. So yeah, so that was all about the different API documentation tools, and this was all about this video. In the next video, we will see what are the test plans and what are the test cases, and we will write our first test case for our products API. So let's keep learning and stay tuned for the more videos. Thanks for watching.